to ensure that all the components get connected properly or not, right? So sometimes, as your classmate said, right, so if you have didn't connect the or you didn't mount any of the ICs properly, then you get some hardware errors, right? For example, RAM. So if you didn't fix the RAM into the slot properly, you'll be getting such errors, and your system won't boot properly if all the hardwares are not connected, especially your RAM or CMOS battery, right? So you might be getting issues if your computer is not turned on. You want to check whether like everything is correct, all the power supply is given and all. You want to check whether your hardware components are connected properly, right? So one type of error that you will be getting is like power button will not start your computer, right? So you have switched on the power supply given to your computer and you will be switching on your PC, right? But your computer is not turned on. So what you do for that, right? So let's see that. So before getting into the troubleshooting, so let's see how to do the troubleshooting, right? So as an engineer, you want to follow the procedure for troubleshooting your PC. Not only for troubleshooting, for everything you should follow some procedures. Clear? So, the first foremost step in your procedure is like you want to identify the problem, right? What type of problem you are facing in your computer, right? So that is the first and foremost step, right? So whatever problem, right? Either you are getting you couldn't switch on the system, or you didn't view the applications, or your application is not working in either a software bug or a hardware bug, right? First and foremost step you want to do is you want to identify the problem. The next step is you want to collect or gather the information about your problem, right? So why it is not getting turned on, how this problem occurs, due to this problem what are all the things. So like that you want to collect or gather the information first related to your problem. The next step, the third step, is you want to find a solution to the problem, right? Once you gather the information about the problem, after gathering your information, you want to analyze the information that you have gathered. Yeah. So once you analyze it, you can able to find a solution for such problem. And your fifth step or the fourth step is to implement the solution, right? Once you find a solution, you want to implement that. Clear? So implementing is nothing but, for example, your computer is not turned on. You find that the cable is not connected properly, right? So this is your problem. You have collected information. So you collected information why it is not turned on and all, and finally you identified that your cable is not connected properly, right? So that is what the solution, that you want to connect it properly. So that is identifying the solution or developing the solution. The next step is it's not connected, so you want to connect it properly, right? So that is a solution. For that you are implementing that solution by connecting the cable properly. Next step, fifth step is to check whether your problem is solved or not. You have identified that cable is not connected properly, so you have connected it. Again you want to check your system that whether your computer is turning on or not, right? So okay, no issues, your computer is turned on now, so your problem is getting solved, right? You have solved the problem. So the next step is you want to document it, right? So this document is from this problem you have analyzed and you got the solution, and the solution is implemented and it is successful, right? So these steps, what are the things you have carried out, you want to document it for the future use. Right? Either your friends might be getting such kind of errors, so it will be helpful. So as an engineer, you want to follow these steps, right, for troubleshooting. Right, so as an engineer you want to follow a procedure for everything, each and everything. So for troubleshooting you will be following this procedure, so you can pick represent it as a flow chart. Right, so as I told earlier, if cable is connected properly, even though you are not getting the problem, not getting solved, right, still your computer is not turned on, then what you do? Is anyone? Yes, Ashwin? Am I audible or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So my question is, you have identified a problem that your computer is not turned on, right? And you have gathered the information, and finally you developed a solution that you have your power cable is not connected properly, so you have to connect it, right? So you have implemented by connecting the cable properly, right, the power cord properly into your PC. And again, you are checking whether your problem is resolved or not, your computer is turning on or not. Right? Now, you identify that your problem is not yet solved, your computer is not yet turned on, even after connecting the power cord properly. Then what you have to do now?
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes.
By turned on, do you mean like it's not turning on, or is it booting with no operating
Yeah,
system?
it's not booting. That's
It's
what.
not booting at all.
Yes.
So there is no power input.
That's what you
Okay.
identified. First step is you have identified there is no power supply to your computer.
Ma'am,
So
so
I checked
now,
for that, and you have resolved by connecting your power card properly.
yes, ma'am.
And again,
Ma'am,
you are switching on the power supply and you are giving AC current to your PC. Now, still now your system is not booting.
I'm checking the connection from the power supply to motherboard and
Yes,
everything,
good.
ma'am.
Yes, good. So again, you have to identify the problem, right? Clear? You have to check for your mother power supply unit. Clear? So your problem is not with the power cord. So again, you want to restart or resume by identifying your problem. Clear? Again, you have to identify the problem and you have to collect the information about the power supply unit and you want to check it out. And again, you want to find a solution and you have to implement it. Clear? Clear? So now you have checked and you have identified that power supply unit is working properly. AC is converted to DC. Now you are getting a output as DC current in your PSU. But still your PC is not booting. What do you do? What is the next step?
Ma'am,
Mm,
check the IO buttons, ma'am.
Yeah, not checking the IO buttons, you want to check the motherboard next, right? Because
Yes.
your output is coming out from your power supply unit. The next is you have to check your cable. That is your power cable from your power supply unit to your motherboard. And the ports, as you said, input output ports to the, that is your output port from the power supply unit to the input port to the motherboard, right, as well as the cable. So like that you want to identify, and you once until you getting resolved, until your problem is getting resolved, until the system is getting booted, you want to continue this process, you want to iterate your process. Are you clear? Yes. So the first step is you want to identify the problem, you want to collect the information regarding your problem, and third is you want to develop a solution. Fourth step is you want to implement the solution, and you want to check. Fifth step is you want to check whether your problem is solved or not. If not, again you have to go back to the first step. If solved, simply you will be documenting what you have identified, what is the solution you provided, and what is the outcome of the solution. Clear? Right. So this is one example for hardware defect. Similarly, you want to check for all type of hardwares, right? Like if your CD drive is not working properly or anything, right? So let's see the software bugs in the next, right? So the next problem is about, so here the solution is given like the same thing what we have discussed, right? If power button is not working, you want to check all these things. The next is, if an application, your software is running slowly, right? So usually you do one thing. If it is not running fast, right, what you do?
Close everything else.
Yes, good. So that is the first step, right? If you're not able to continue with your application or a software, you simply close the application and you will again restart, or you will open the application again. Clear? Again, if it is not solved, you are closing and opening the application, even though if it is not solved, right? Again, it is working slowly, then you can go for software updations, right? Clear? So either you want to upgrade. So sometimes if you go for Mozilla and all, right, your browsers and all, it will show you have to update it. It is out of date for different kind of applications. So this is same. Even in your mobile phones, if you go for WhatsApp, that will show you such kind of information. Right? So the best and easiest method is you have to restart your application, close, and you have to open it again. Otherwise, you want to update the software if it is a software bug. The next is, so consider my application is frozen, right? So if it is working slowly, if it is very slow, right, you just close it. But if it is not working, frozen means it is not at all working. If you try to close it, the button is not working. You couldn't close the application. So usually you have faced that. Simply your window is hanged out. Your application window is hanged out. What you do?
Control Alt Delete and then
Yes,
close.
good. So in your Windows, you will be pressing out the Alt Control Delete, right? Then you're getting the Task Manager window. In that Task Manager window, you will be choosing the particular application and you force that application to quit, right? By clicking the End Task. Right? I think you have done this, right? You have experienced this problem and you have done this, right? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good. So the next is about, so like if one application, you're having issues with one application, then you can simply close and open it, right? So I think one more solution is there to restart. That is, even after selecting the end task in your computer, right, task manager, if the application is not yet closed, still you're having some issues, then you have to go for restarting your PC, right? You just select for restarting. So that is another solution for frozen applications, right? So the next is about, right, if one application is having issues with running slowly or like it is frozen, then you can go with all kind of solutions. So if you go for all the programs, right, all the programs are running slowly, actually you say that your system is entirely slow. Can you tell me why?
You don't have enough hardware resources.
Yes, good. Especially your RAM. Yes. So whenever we buy a mobile phones, we go for higher configuration of RAM to get the system more faster. Right? So before getting into this, I will tell you one thing. So everyone is having your laptop, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So where you have loaded your operating system. You have a hard disk drive with so many GBs or TBs, right? And you have partitioned to different drives. Yes. Whether you are using a separate drive for your operating system or you'll be storing the data together with your operating system drive.
Mom, that depends on how you want to use it, Mom.
Yes. So which one you prefer? Whether you
Uh,
will prefer a separate drive for storage your information or you will be using along with your application.
it's always better to have your operating system separate.
Yes, why?
Suppose there's a problem with your OS, you just need to replace one drive and you won't lose much data.
Yes, good. That is too good. Then next, only
Um,
for that is the reason.
also, it takes time to boot up if there is other data other than your operating system on that.
Yes, good, good. Why? Why you are getting so much of time to boot if you load much more data into that?
The operating system first checks if all the files are intact before um,
Yes, good.
it turns on the computer. So it takes time for it to check all the files if it's in the same place.
Yes,
Suppose
yes.
it's only our operating system, it ignores that process and checks it after the computer is loaded.
Yes, good. So it is similar to your treasure hunt, right? So when you play a treasure hunt, you want to identify something, right? That is hidden somewhere, right? So you have played the treasure hunt game. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So if you want to find or identify some item right, in a large space, right? And which is full of free. And one more scenario is you want to search in a small space that are clumsy with so many things inside, right? So which one will you prefer? Which one is easier? Either you can prefer a large space or either you prefer a smaller area.
Smaller area.
Yes, but the smaller area you have so many things, right? So many things are dumped and there you want to find the hidden item. So if you go for larger area, it is not a dump, you have so much of free space, it is not loaded, right? So which one you feel easy to identify the item?
The larger free space, ma'am.
Yes, good. Larger space. Even if the larger space is loaded, clear, and if the smaller space is like free, then you will be preferring the smaller space. So you will be preferring the not the space, right? You will be preferring which one is having free space, right? Which one is more easier to identify. Clear? So it is, you can able to understand that it is not, it won't depend on the volume. It also depend on how many things are there inside that volume. Clear? Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the same scenario you can go with your drives. Clear? So if even if you have a large space, you can able to store much data, right? Or you having only 20 GB of hard disk drive, right? In that you have allocated 10 GB for your operating system. In that 5 GB is loaded with your OS and 5 GB is free, no problem, right? But if you dump so many things into that 5 GB, then it is difficult for the OS while booting. It is difficult for the OS to find the files in your hard disk drive, right? Because you have so much of data inside, you want to locate your data, locate the file what you are searching in a large space, right? Because large volume of data is there. In that data, you want to search it. So that's why we are not preferring the data or information that is to be stored in your OS drive. Clear? So you will be learning how to fetch the data from your hard disk drive or the memory in your microprocessor, right? It is simply like it is set of things that like think about your bookshelf. So much of uh, books are there, right? So you want to identify, like you have 10 racks of books. You want to identify a book among the 10 racks. All the racks are filled with the books, right? So that is too difficult for OS. But when you go for again the same 10 racks, but only you have files for 5 racks, in the 5 racks you want to search the file, means it is easy. So that is easy for your system, right? So that is a scenario, right? So that's why we are preferring a drive separately for your operating system. Clear? So if your computer is running slowly, right, or all the applications are running slowly, you have to give an enough space to the applications that you store in the C drive. One thing. The next thing is, as I told in the previous session, that everything is to be loaded to a RAM from the hard disk drive for processing, right? So that's why we are preferring a large size of RAM for faster accessing. Yes. So if the RAM is filled with so much of application data, then automatically it will slow down your execution of application. Right? So you want to free up the space, or you have to free the RAM. Right? You want to close the unwanted applications, and you want to remove unwanted data like caches, cookies, everything. You want to remove it to increase the speed of your computer. Why? Because if I find one application is running slowly, you can able to identify the issues with application, right? You may identify a problem is issue with an application. But if all programs, all the applications are running slowly, the issue is not with the application, right? So the issue is with your processor, right? Clear? If one program is running slowly, then issues with that program. If all the programs are running slowly, then the issue is not with the programs, the issue is with the processor. So you want to resolve it, right? So here the solution given is you want to check for any virus infections. So that may slow down the applications because they may run in background. So that will consume more memory and more processor, right? So you might know the Core i3 processor, Core i7 processor and all, you will be using it, right? For parallel execution, you will be preferring different processor because you want to execute more applications in your processor. But if your processor is utilized by the virus, then you couldn't able to access your processor. Automatically, it will slow down your applications. Right? So the first step we are checking out with scanning of viruses. Right? And the next is you want to free out your hard disk space for easier access. And third solution is like disk defragmenter. So this two things, right? One is cleaning up and disk defragmenter. These tools are available when you right click on your hard disk drive and you have to go to properties, right? You just right click on your hard disk drive and open the properties. So you have tools tab in the properties. When you click the tools, you have these options like disk defragmenter and disk cleanup, right? So this disk cleanup option will clean up all the files which are not used for long period of time because it is not required. So it will suggest you that if we are not using for an year, that file is not required. So it will remove such kind of files, right? And disk defragmenter is consider if you are installing one application by today, and after a week, by next week, you are going to implement another application. And again, you are going to implement a third application. You are going to install, you are installing the applications, right? It is like placing the books or files in the shelf one after the other. Clear? You're just placing the files one after the other. Now, what you're going to do is you just want to remove the application that you have installed earlier. Right? So far you have installed 3 applications, application 1, application 2, application 3. So it will be, so your drive will be allocating as free space in a sequential way, right? One after the other. Okay. So now if you uninstall one application, right, which you have installed 2 weeks earlier, after that you have installed 3 to 4 applications, and what will happen was that space, right, when you uninstall it, that space is available free. Like, see, so you have, I told you have 5 racks of books, right? In that, if you remove a second rack, right, all the files in the second rack, then your second rack is empty. You have files in the third, fourth, and fifth rack. Clear? So, but what will happen was your OS, or you want to search in a way, in a sequential way, that you want to check the first rack, and then you want to check whether second rack, third rack, and fourth rack. In this way, you want to check it. So you want to check all the places in your second rack, but there is no file in it. Clear? So again, it will increase the time required for searching the files related to your application. So this disk defragmenter will rearrange your files, rearrange the location of your files. That is what disk defragmentation. Clear? This will also improve your accessing speed in the memory, will automatically improve the application speed. Right? Do you have any doubts in this? Shall we move on to the next problem?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the next is like, my computer is frozen. So the same solution what you do for an application, you just simply click Alt Control Delete, you go for Task Manager, you simply end all the tasks whichever is open. Clear? So, and you can go for restart, right? Or else you can go for restarting your Windows Explorer. Right? You want to locate the Windows Explorer and you want to restart it, right? So this is what the thing, you want to go to Task Manager and you want to close the Windows Explorer and you want to restart it. The another solution is, right, this is for Mac. That is, if you are using Windows, that then you can go for Task Manager, and if you are using Mac, then you can go for Command Option plus Escape, right? To quit your applications, you want to go for, instead of Alt Control Delete, you want to choose this commands in Mac. I think this third and fourth solution you have done, right? You might be experiencing this kind of problem that your laptop is hanged or your processor is hanged, and you have done these 2 things. Whether you have done this or not.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So if you couldn't access your window, you can't select, you can't open the taskbar to choose restart computer, right? Your system is hanged, you can't choose anything in your window. So simply what you do was simply press and hold your power button to restart it. Even after pressing that, if your computer is not get started, simply you unplug it, right? Or you will switch off the power supply and again you switch on it. So these 2 are basic solutions that we are usually following. So the next problem is like your mouse or keyboard has stopped working. This might be a software problem or a hardware problem, right? So we can, for applications, you will be having only software problem, and for certain things, you will be getting only hardware problem. But when come to this is like a combination of your hardware as well as software problems, right? So first thing what you have to do was, if the mouse is not working properly, right, or a keyboard is not working properly, you check for the connections, right? Wired connections and the input ports. Clear? So you have input output ports for connecting these devices to your motherboard. We have seen that, right? So you want to check it out whether it is plugged into the ports properly or not. Right? If you are using wireless devices, you want to check the batteries whether it is properly charged or not. Apart from that, right, you'll be checking the connections. Even after that, if it is not working, then you want to check for the driver support. Yes, you want to check your driver support whether it is installed properly, whether it is working properly or not, or whether it is updated. If not, you have to update it. Yes, or you might be having issues with the hardware, that is ports of input output devices. You are connecting the devices to an IO ports into the motherboard. So you want to check. So this is the first step. At last, what you're going to do, everything is proper, but even though your mouse or keyboard is not working, you want to check the port whether you have any hardware defects in that particular port. Okay. So before okay, let's see this. So the problem is like the sound isn't working. You are not getting the sound. So what you have to do, first thing is you want to check your volume in your system, whether it is activated or it is in mute state. So first is you will be checking that. Second is you will be checking your players, right? Even if it is turned on, your speaker is turned on in your computer, right? Or your volume, the system sound volumes are correct, but even though you are not getting the sound, you will check for the video players whether I'm having issues with only this Windows Media Player or I'm having issues with the other audio or video players as well. So you'll be checking either it is a particular software application bug or it might be a hardware bug. So you want to analyze it by gathering the information, right? And even after that, if it is not getting solved, then you will be checking all the hardware connectivities. If you have separate audio video speakers and all, right, you will be checking out whether the speaker is connected properly, all the wires to the speakers are working properly, or the hardware in the speaker is working properly. So these are the things you want to analyze. So this is another thing, right? You want to check for the cables, and again you want to connect your headphones, that whether you can able to hear through headphones or only you having issues with the speaker. The next one is like the screen is blank. That is, you have booted your computer, the computer is booted, but again the screen is blank, right? You check for your monitor, right, whether it is turned on or not. Again, if it is turned on, you want to ensure whether power supply is given to the monitor or not, right? Even the power supply is correctly coming to your monitor, but even though monitor is not turned on, then you want to check whether your system is in sleep mode or not, right? Clear? So if it is in sleep mode, you want to awake it, or if it is not getting a power supply, then you want to replace your cable, whether you're having issues with the cable, right, power cable, or you're having issues with the input pins in the monitor side or with the other end. So like that, you want to analyze for the screen is blank, right? So one, either your processor is in sleep mode or you're having any hardware issues. So that's all about, these are some of the problems, right, that you face or that you can troubleshoot it. Apart from that, you might be connecting a printer, right, or a video card, or any devices that you connect. You want to check the working of the devices first in a software side. The next you want to go for hardware corrections, right? So we'll see one example as USB, right? So you will be using your pen drives, right? Always you will have pen drives and you will be accessing the USB port. So assume that you will be plugging your pen drive into one USB port, but it is not identified, right? Can't able to identify your drive. So can you guess what will be a problem and what will you do? What you do? Have you understood my question? Is Kabilan 23, roll number 23?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Can you tell me what you do?
Which one?
Yes. Have you understood my question or not?
Sorry, can you
So
repeat?
you'll be inserting a pen drive into your laptop, right? You have 4 slots. So you'll be inserting into one slot, but your pen drive is not identified by your system. Then what you do? Is anybody else? Anybody else?
Ma'am, I would try plugging it in some other slot.
Yes. So you'll be trying with some other slot. So that is the first solution. That's what you are trying to do. Again, if not identified in the another slot, what you do?
Ma'am, check the drivers, ma'am.
You check for the drivers. Good. So that is again you come to software side and you check for your drivers whether you have the drivers updated or not. So there also you identified and now you have resolved it. Your drivers are working properly. Then what you do?
Try plugging in any other pen drive so that the current pen drive is fault or not to check whether.
Yes, very good. So you will be checking for the pen drive side, right? So you'll be trying with another pen drive whether this particular slot is working properly or not. Again, right? If it is working properly, your solution is your pen drive is you're having issues with the pen drive, so you'll be using another pen drive, right? You're just closing it off. But again, another pen drive is also not detected. So what do you do? Yes, anyone?
Blow out the dust. If it contains any dust, it also it will not recognize.
Yes. So you might be checking for the port, right? Hardware issues in the port. Clear? So this is the way you have to solve it. The first thing is you are identifying, right? Your system pen drive is not detected. So you will be gathering the information, right? And you are trying to assume that you have an issue with the slot. You will be moving to the another slot. There also you are not, your pen drive is not detected, right? So what you have identified, the solution you have identified is changing of your slot is not correct because your problem is identified problem is not correct. Again, you want to re-identify your problem, and you have identified it as issue with the drivers. Again, you're checking and you're correcting on it. Again, you have no issues with the drive, right? You couldn't able to solve the problem. Again, you want to re-identify your problem, that is changing of another pen drive. Yes. So for that also you have given a solution to change a new pen drive. For that also you didn't find your problem is not yet solved. Again, you are re-identifying a problem as you're having defects with the port. So it is like a iteration, right? You will be keep on doing the same process of identifying your problem, gathering your information, right, about the problem, and third is you're developing a solution for the problem and you're implementing that. Finally, you're checking whether your problem is solved or not, whether a pen drive is detected or not. If not, again you trying to analyze in another angle, right? So that again you're going to identify. Clear? So this is a study experiment. So I have discussed a few of your issues, errors that you really face in your day-to-day life and how to troubleshoot it. Clear? So apart from that, you have so many issues, like you might be your CD drive won't be working properly, right? You have inserted a CD drive but it is not detected or it is not identified. Then you will be checking for the same thing, same scenario. You'll be checking for drivers, or you'll be trying with another CD and you're checking whether the issue with CD or issue with the CD drive or issue with the driver softwares, or there is any issue with the cables connected to the, like you have a power cable and the data cable. So I'll be checking out that, right? And similarly, you will do the same procedure for hard disk drive. And if your system is not booted, you will check your CMOS, but you have to check your CMOS battery, whether the battery is charged or it is not at all maintaining the charge. You want to replace your CMOS battery, or if you're having any dust accumulated in your RAM, you want to just remove and you have to clean the dust and you have to replace it. Clear? Similarly, you have issues with the microphones or like the cameras that are inbuilt inside your PC or you have connected. You will be checking the drivers first, connections, later on the hardwares, right? So the basic procedure you want to follow is 6 steps: identify, gather information, develop a solution, implement a solution, check whether your problem is solved or not. If not, you want to reiterate it. If solved, you want to document it. So this is a general procedure for troubleshooting your PC, right? Do you have any